Hello and welcome to Piano with Georgia. I'm Georgia, and in today's video, I'm going to talk a bit more about traditional music notation. More specifically, we are going to discuss how composers tell us to play a black key, also known as what are those strange little symbols in front of some of the notes. So, hop on your bench or chair and let's get started. In our lesson on black keys, lesson 10, we talked about sharps and flats on the piano keys and the symbols that go along with them. We use those same symbols, the hashtag and the lowercase b, to indicate a sharp or a flat on the staff. By the way, the official music vocabulary for sharps and flats that you find in the middle of a song is an accidental. There are three main things that you need to know about notating and reading sharps and flats on the staff. If you see a sharp or flat written in front of any note, that means it applies very specifically to that exact note in that exact location on the piano. If you see that same specific note in the same spot later in the same measure, it is still played as the sharp or flat version. If you see sharps or flats at the beginning of the song by your clefs, these sharps or flats apply to every single note of that alphabet letter for the entire song. That is called a key signature. When you write sharps or flats on our staff, they always go in front of the note that they impact like a little warning sign. This sharp would go with this note. This flat would go with this note. This sharp would go with this note. This is a little detail that I think is a bit confusing because when we are speaking about sharps and flats, we call them by the alphabet letter and then the symbol name. And likewise, when you are simply seeing the sharp and flat symbols with an alphabet letter name, you write it after the letter. I would say F sharp, C sharp, B flat. Here's a little trick to make that more memorable. It's written the way that it is spoken when writing out the symbols in a sentence about music. This sentence would be read, "We are going to learn to play an F sharp." But when we are playing, we need the information sooner, so they put the sharp or flat in front of the note to help us see what's coming in the future. Another little detail, written music is all about details. If you see a sharp in front of a note, the center of the tic-tac-toe will be around the line or space of the note that it goes with. That means that this specific note needs to be played as the black key that is just a half step higher than the note the sharp is next to. In this case, we need to play an F sharp, which is this key. We would play these notes like this. D, E, F sharp, G, A. Flats work the same way. You just go down a half step and the center of the circle part of the flat lines up with the note. F, G, A, B flat, C. An interesting thing to remember about sharps and flats that all tie back to when music had to be written by hand. So folks were always looking for some shortcuts, so they didn't have to write as much. Is that if you have a sharp or flat beside a note in a measure, then there is another note in the same place on the staff later, before you cross a bar line, then it is still a sharp or flat. Here's our D scale again. It is going up and then back down, all in the same measure. Notice that the first F has a sharp beside it, but the second F does not. because it's in the same measure, it is still an F sharp. Here's our D scale again. It's going up and back down. The first F is F sharp. The second F is still F sharp because we are in the same measure. You cross the bar line. This F goes back to the white note version. Still the white note version, and we're done. This example would be played like this. The F is still a sharp for the entire first measure. Then the bar line cancels it and it becomes, that's right, a D minor scale with no F sharp. A final rule that saved composers even more writing. If you see any sharps or flats at the beginning of a song, right by the clefs, that means that every note that you play of that alphabet letter, you play the sharp or flat version. Yes, this is a bit tricky to remember, so a tried and true tactic used by pianists far and wide is to just write them in yourself if you're having trouble remembering them. In this case, my sharp is on the top line, which I can count up and realize that this is on the line for G, A, B, C, D, E, F. So all Fs, no matter where they are, will be played as F sharps. I will start on this note, G, and as I play, I need to play F sharp for this F, even though it's a different spot than our sharp is on at the beginning. G, F sharp, E, D. But wait, what if a composer wants to cancel the sharp or flat for the remainder of a measure or from the key signature? Yes, there is a special symbol for that too. It looks like this. And it is called a natural sign. It is considered an accidental, just like our sharps and flats, and the center must line up with the line or space of the exact note that it goes with. So if my music looked like this, I would play a white key F in the first measure, but once I cross the bar line, default back to whatever the key signature says, and it has an F sharp. So in this case, I need to remember to play that as an F sharp. One last tip. Trust your ear. If you are playing something and it sounds a bit off, trust that instinct and double check if perhaps that note should be a sharp or a flat from either your key signature or from earlier in the measure. You'll be surprised how good your ear is at hearing those things. After all, you have been listening to music for your entire life. Finding music to try to play can be a bit daunting. Luckily, we have the internet. If you'd like to search for some free music to practice reading with, just type the name of a song followed by the words piano sheet music. You'll usually get a lot of options. You can also include the word easy if you'd like to find less complicated examples. Many websites are free, and almost all allow you to see the first page of a song for free. Already, it will be a ton of music to practice reading. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Please like, subscribe, and keep the comments coming. Happy music making!